Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
I'm Z Garcia.
And today we're talking about something I like and something other people like. Beer and bread.
You like and.
Actually, I don't even like bread that much. Bread's okay.
Don't like bread?
It's fine.
I can't eat bread.
I'm out of this review. This is unacceptable.
Well, I don't have to eat the bread in this game. I'm making it. It's a two-player game, which has been getting a lot of buzz. I mean, a lot of buzz.
From the beer.
And the gluten.
So beer and bread, a two-player back and forth game. It's only two players. Let me show you how it plays, and we'll be right back. In this game, you're going to be getting points from beer and bread. And each of them that you produce over the course of the game is worth points. So you can see this beer is worth 4 points, this one's worth 8 points, this bread's worth 6, and so on and so forth. At the end of the game, you're going to total all your beer points and all your bread points, and your score is going to be the lower of the two. So you want to make them as even as possible. There are other cards that will give you possibly extra points added to one or both scores. The game is going to take place over 6 rounds. There's a plentiful round and then a round that's not quite so plentiful, and each round has some different rules to it. So the first thing that will happen in a round is you're going to fill these resources here in the middle based on what type of round it is, and you can see the two different numbers that are there. So there's 4 different resources: wheat, barley, rye, and hops. And again, you just fill them up or reduce them if needed. Then, in the plentiful rounds, each player is going to draw 5 cards. They're going to take turns going back and forth, where you'll play a card from your hand, do the actions, and the other player does it. Then you switch hands, and you do it again. And you keep going till all the cards are gone. In the less plentiful rounds here, you are the dry years. There's going to be 3 cards randomly placed here. And in this time, you will not swap hands. You're just going to take turns playing cards back and forth. But you can switch one of your cards with one of those cards and play those instead. So when you play a card, there are 3 ways to do it. One way is to place the card in front of you to show the resources that you'll get at the top of the card. So this one here will give you 2 different resources. So here, when I play this, I'm going to get 1 barley and 1 rye. And these cards will stay in front of you. So if I play this card later on, I get 1 water and I'm going to get 2 rye. So you get the resources on the card and every resource of that type that you've played before. So the more cards you play, this is actually not a great combo because you had to get 2 of these and 1 of those. But if you play the cards right, you can get a lot of resources. Also, as you play these cards in front of you during the plentiful years, when the year is over, these cards are going to go to your hand before you draw back up. Resources that you get will come from these areas here, if they're available, and there's always all the water available. You will place the resources that you get in these 9 different spots in your house here. And there's a possibility to have more spots as the game goes by to put things in. But if you don't have room, and the other player does have room, they're going to go to the other player. Another thing you can do is you can fulfill an order. So if I have 2 water and these resources here, 1 hops and 2 barley, I can place this. This is beer, so I place the beer here. If I had bread, I'd place it here. So let's say I had the resources to do it. I simply then pay those resources. They don't go back here, they're discarded. I pay those resources and I put this card here. You can only have 1 card in each of these spots until it's cleared. But when these are going to be worth points at the end of the game, like I said, this is the whole focus of the game. The third thing you can do is you can play any card as an upgrade. You'll slide it under the board. Each card has an upgrade and has a symbol. This shows a side, so it would go over here. Whenever you play an upgrade, any cards you have here are cleared, so you'll be able to put more cards there. There are all sorts of different upgrades, and they go in different slots. Upgrades that go in this slot will provide you another spot for storage. Upgrades in the side slot here, basically this just says whenever I collect a hop, I'm going to get an extra hop. So they're going to have various effects. Some of them are endgame scoring. They go over here. For every 2 bread card that you've sold, you get an extra card for each bread. Some of them just basically affect the game turns. Here in the card phase of dry years, when you pick up your harvest cards from the previous year, you can discard any number of them. Some of them here says when you remove only beer cards when you clean your brewery bakery, get 2. So that happens when you clear cards. And this one lets you have an extra bread card in your bakery, so I can put 2 there. And there's all sorts of different upgrade cards. That's pretty much the game. You're just going to go back and forth. When the players are done, they go to the next round. When you get to the end, you add up your points, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Now, Z and I, we were talking when we played this, and this has distinct feel and look of the old Cosmos 2-player line.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were both getting sort of Jumbo vibes a little bit. One of some of the more complex games in the line. There were certainly some lighter ones, but yeah, it felt in many ways sort of nostalgic, like a throwback of a design, very interwoven mechanisms, that nice push and pull, that back and forth. I agree with that.
I haven't played Jumbo. Now I'm interested though because I love this type of game. Small box, 2-player, head-to-head, just kind of sleek rule set, nothing too complicated, but every turn you're sitting there going, I need to make an important decision now amongst multiple good choices. This is a box size and style of game I tend to like a lot.
It's interesting. For me, they're hit or miss. Targi's a part of that line, right?
Yes.
Targi's one I did not enjoy. But this one was a little bit more of a hit for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things about this game is that I found interesting is it's very interactive, for sure, right? And in fact, it can be super interactive almost to a point where I don't know that I want to play necessarily. If you sit there and say, okay, here's the cards I want to play, but now I'm going to look at all the resources you have, see which one of these you can build, see what card you might want, and take that card as to not give it to you. That's a legit thing to do, but it will slow the game down.
That's not a level that I'm playing at, Tom.
But it's possible.
It is.
You can
it
get
is,
there,
yeah.
right. You can get there.
And I might do it near the end of the game, even if I'm not going that far. I might sit there and go, I see you've done 3 beer cards and
You can see the
1
backs
bread card,
of the cards.
so
yeah.
I'm giving you no bread cards if I can pull it off.
Correct.
Yeah.
You can do that, yes, because you have the information on the backs of the cards.
So mentioning end of game, that is where this fizzles for me a little bit, is that towards that end of the game, if you don't have enough resources, if you haven't like super planned way ahead the turn before, or like the whole age before, whatever season, then you could have 2, 3 cards that you can do absolutely nothing with. And
That
those
won't
last
matter,
final
right? Yeah.
turns, you're just kind of like, I'm a skip, your turn.
Yeah.
I was surprised that there wasn't like 5 resources a point, or
I
something
agree.
that you could use your last couple cards on.
Yeah.
Yeah, my big issue here was actually, and a little bit in line with what you're saying, that I thought it had maybe like 2 rules too many. There's a lot going on, and as you were teaching it to me, I kept thinking, yeah, I like that rule, and I like that rule too, and I like this one. We still got, okay, more rules. Okay, those are good too. But they're still in this game? Okay. And so I don't know if we need it at all. Like, 2 things that score, you get the worst score. And
Great.
resources, alternating types of years. Cards you put out for resources, but on the every other year you pick them back up and refill your hand. And a market you can switch with. And it's like, geez, like everything. So that's, again, I think you could sand it down a little bit. And I also didn't love that a lot of the cards take, 7 resources to make? You can store 9. Maybe a couple more with extra cards. That means oftentimes I would find myself playing Path of Least Resistance in this game. Like, I can build this, so I will. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, this one I'm nowhere near, but it's a lot better for my strategy. No, it's like, I can do this. I will do that.
Yeah, I can see
Boom.
that.
I think that one mechanism that I'm sure that a lot of people will say this mechanism is a bit clunky. If you on a year of plenty play a card out to get resources, it will come back to hand the next round.
Yeah.
I think that is probably the mechanism that makes the game for me though, because it is kind of the response to that complaint of this card is so expensive, can I actually build it? Probably not this round. But play your
Right.
cards right, and next round during the year of famine, it'll come back to you. And that, I think, plays also into that last round. You can kind of set yourself up for that final round to have cards to do stuff with.
Yes.
But you probably will have 1, maybe 2 cards that you're like, it's a throwaway.
What am I going to do? Because
Yeah.
the thing is that the cards that you finish filling up your hand with on those years of famine, you don't know what those are going to be.
Sure.
You don't know what's going to be out on that lineup. Like you can prepare, but you can only prepare so much, which is thematic, I guess. We can only prepare so much for famine and whatever. But
yeah, it's not an accident that the game ends in a year of famine, right?
Yeah.
It's on purpose that
Yeah.
you have that. But yeah, boy, like even just on the years of plenty, like the trading hands back and forth, it just felt like throw hand switching in there too, you know, while we're at it. Like just passing back and forth for those years. Yeah, it's good. I like all the gears turning. There's just a lot of them.
the engine building I wish was a little bit more. I enjoy the engine building, so I want to make that point out there that I did enjoy the engine building. But I wish it was a little bit easier to do or more common to do, because that is associated with removing the beer and the bread so you can build more. There's this feeling of, I don't want to do it yet. But if I am doing that, then I'm also not making any bread or any beer. And so I just wish that they were a little bit more combined, maybe. I'm not sure what it is, but I just wish that there was more engine building, a little bit more that I can enjoy it. I felt like it was there, but I didn't get to enjoy it.
I do wonder why that rule clears those spaces, because it's not like you don't want to do it. Like, the engine building is fun. Like, I definitely was, whenever I didn't know quite what to do, I was like, ooh, yeah, sure.
Good power.
I'll tuck this in there under the board, you know? So I think it's weird that it incentivizes you to build an engine by clearing those spaces when you want to be doing that anyway. I thought that was just strange.
It's just the
rule.
order that it happens. Now,
Yeah.
this is all sounding a little negative. I really like the game.
Oh, I like it a lot too. Yeah.
I really enjoy the playing the cards, getting the resources, trying to manage your stupid 9 spots, which you can fill pretty quickly, and not accidentally give the other person resources at the wrong time. And you said take that path of least resistance. You build a little card, and I'm like, oh, well, I was going to take more resources, but I don't want to give you any. I don't want to give you anything, because that's
Especially
a big
not 5.
That's a big swing, right? So now I got to think what else I'm going to do. I enjoyed it. The points are lower scoring than I had thought, so you have to go in your mind thinking, hey, there's that. And then there's also that Reiner Knizia mechanism of
Highest, lowest. I think
the highest, lowest.
it's
There's only 2, right? But it still is interesting because it does make you think. When I'm playing, I'm like, do a beer, now do a bread, now do a beer, now do a bread.
Until you get a hand of only beers.
Oh, now I do need to do a beer. I'm constantly thinking that. That's fine.
That's fun.
And again, I like the fact I think every card in the game is different combo of stuff. But yeah, I like it a lot. I'm giving it an 8. It's a solid game for me. It fits right into 2-player line. It's not as great as Jumbo's better.
Yeah, I like Targi better, Jumbo
Targi is
better. A
way
lot
better,
of those
despite
games I do
Wendy's
think are
hatred
better.
of it. I like those better, but I think this one's really solid, and I like the interaction of it. So it's an 8 for me.
I really like it too. I'm going to give it a 7. It does feel nostalgic to me in a really fun way. I love that back and forth. I do like combo building and getting better as I go, tucking cards underneath, and hey, look at that. Now I get to do this. Now I have an ability to trade resources for other resources, or I get stuff for free. I really enjoy that. But yeah, my one sort of negative takeaway, the main one really is that there are a lot of rules in it. And I think if it was more streamlined, it would hit the table more often for me. Retain a lot of its fun, a lot of its sort of back and forth, push and pull, and many of its ideas with a more streamlined path to that end game. So, but I did enjoy it. This is one I'd be happy to play again, probably with someone who knows it already.
Oh, Tom's looking at me. It's me. Okay, so I'm going to give it a 7 as well because I enjoyed a lot of what's going on. For me, head-to-head games they're very hit or miss. I don't like a lot of them. But I did enjoy what was going on with this. It might just be the very Euro-y, farmy theme. But I enjoy the multi-use cards, the resource management, all that kind of stuff going on, I think is fun. I don't feel like the interaction is too much for me. And I think that's the problem with a lot of these head-to-head games is I feel like I have to be so much in the other person's head. And I don't feel like I have to be. The drafting system, the year plenty famine kind of thing, I wish that it was just a little bit different, a little bit cleaner, maybe less rules. I'm not sure what it is there, but I wish that there was just a little bit more plan ahead if I'm going to plan ahead, or less plan ahead if I'm not going to plan ahead. There's a little bit too much of one and too much of the other kind of combination. But I enjoyed it, so that's why I'm going to give it a 7.
I'm giving this an 8.5. I like this tremendously. This is really good. I think that I know that I'm the mechanism soup person of the dice tower. You throw a lot of stuff in there. I don't mind as long as the play of it is smooth. And I think that even though there's a lot of stuff going on, the actual play of it's really smooth. Take a card, do one of three things with it. They're all printed right there on it. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I personally really like that the upgrade mechanism is intrinsically tied into wiping the board, because you always do want to upgrade, but then it incentivizes you to do other things first. And so I like that. It's the sequencing of card play that reminds me of other games that I really like, even like Reef, where, this card is good now, but it could be better if I wait till I play something else. But you lock that into a card draft, and now you're hoping that the card will come back to you. There's so many great things about it. I wish that it was a little bit maybe more easy to upgrade your storage, because as soon as one of those cards comes to my hand, I don't care if I have no beer and bread out there at all, I'm upgrading my storage, like no matter what. So I think there's a few things that are a little bit stronger than others, but I like the scoring, I like the special scoring, highest, lowest scoring, the end game benefits and stuff. This game is fantastic, and I plan to play it a lot. So 8.5 for me.
Nice.
Well, there you go, folks. That's Beer and Bread. I'm Tom Bread Vassal.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Draft Yee.
I guess I'm Z Beer Garcia.
I knew it!
Yeah, baby.